100% supportive of that. And, trying to find that time away while hunting, it's, it can be tough. And how do you deal with your, home life balance and hunting balance? Like you said, your wife's super supportive, but at the same time, it can be frustrating and for everybody when they think you're being selfish when you're just trying to actually fill the freezer.
I think a lot of people are going to want to know the answer to that question, Dan.
Oh yeah, myself included. Honestly, I haven't figured it out, and I don't even pretend to be like, oh yeah, I just go hunting whenever I want and there's no recourse. I mean, when you leave your family, you are gone. And ultimately it is a selfish endeavor. I am going to the mountains to try to get meat for the freezer 100%. But even if I wasn't successful, I'd still want to be out there. I'd still want to go chase those adventures and be away from everything and be tested. So you have to be able to communicate. This is what I've learned. I'm still learning, still in the process of, if my wife and I get in an argument, it's not about money. It's not about enough date nights. It's about, I hunt too much, still is to this day. And, even trying to justify it, well, it's part of the business, still, I think my wife's smarter than that. She understands that I'm a hunting fool. I am addicted to hunting 100%. And so she understands that the biggest thing that I've communicated to her is like, before you met me, I was passionate about hunting. I was hunting for 60 plus days a year minimum. And our first couple of years of dating, even like I was gone. So I think you have to communicate to them that, hey, this is still something I'm going to do regardless of what happens. Kids or job changes, I still feel a calling to go out into the mountains and to be, go to wild places, wild spaces. And I love you to death, but I need to do this. And if I don't go hunting, we're all going to suffer because my mental health will go down considerably. I really believe that. Like my best version of Dan is right when I come back. Like today, I've been hunting for 4 days. I feel refreshed and recharged, like I said previously. And you're going to get the best Dan. I'm going to be more attentive, more intentional. And the last thing I want to add to this very important topic is there is a calendar upstairs where my wife, Alicia, will write her work schedule, our vacations, our camping trips. And I already have my hunting plans for the year up there. And I don't even know where I'm elk hunting yet. Not all the elk draws are out, but I have it all penciled in. So she knows what I'm thinking. And it's uncomfortable for me to write all those trips on there. But I've learned, and I didn't used to do this, just kind of keep my cards tight and be like, oh, hey, I'm going to spring this on you. I'm going hunting for a week here, or I'm going for 2 weeks there. Now I just show my cards, let her get mad, way out in front, and then we deal with it, if that makes sense.
No, that's some good advice. I was a professional off-road racer when I married my wife, so she knew I was all in before we were even together. And the schedule comes out at the beginning of the year. She knew how many weeks I was going to be gone and exactly where I'd be at. So I completely get it. Hunting can be a little bit more, I don't want to say sporadic, but, you get the fever. You hear guys are coming home, getting their kill. And it's like, wow, I want to get out there. So all of a sudden schedules change real quick. But I can appreciate that you've got that schedule out there. And you're right, it is tough. Even though that's your livelihood, it's a passion that turned into a business that, it's still hard to recognize sometimes that it's important that you stay out hunting and keep your edge if you're going to be in that business, right?
Yeah, I mean, it is. And it's not always like just so fun. Like this last 4 days, I mean, I'm packing around a Sony DSLR, extra lenses, a GoPro. I had my intern come up for a day and a half. So we did product photo shoots and we're dumping cards at night and we're editing images. And we're telling a story. It's not like I just get to go hunt now whenever I want. Like we're still doing work, but it's just stuff that we're passionate about. So it doesn't quite feel like work, but we're hustling and we're working hard. And it's paramount that we get out there and do that and live the Elkshape lifestyle.
So I want to ask you a little bit about that. I'm glad you brought it up because I'm looking through your social media. I always do a little research on my guests. You're pretty damn good at social media. You've done a great job with your content. It's interesting, compelling. You've got good stories. Your website's great. I know you went to school for something different. How did you learn how to get so good on the marketing side of this business?
Oh man, I am still learning. I'm in a learning curve for marketing, and it's super interesting. I mean, I'll be honest, I would give myself like a B. I have some major flaws and weaknesses. And so I understand that, but I do have some strengths. And one of them is just hard work. Like, I may not create the best content, but I'm going to be consistent, and I'm going to be transparent. I'm not going to have an Instagram personality, and then when you meet me in real life, it's like, oh, well, who's this guy? Like, you're going to know who I am. And I have figured out that that's what works for me, is not putting up a front, be who you are. And some people are going to be turned off by that, and some people are going to dig that you're real. And so I started doing that. I've always been passionate about cameras and filming. I used to film quite a bit as a private contractor for a couple of hunting shows. I used to be a private contractor in editing video for some hunting television shows. And then I'm just kind of an amateur photographer. So I've always loved photography and videography, and you know, social media it's a double-edged sword. Like, we work really hard on our YouTube, but man, there are days where I just want to turn comments off on all my videos. And I just recently turned off comments on my Instagram story. So, because I was wasting so much time responding to, you know, you get 90% awesome comments or questions, but then you get those 10% just dumb, for lack of a better word, questions that just suck your time away. So there's a balancing act out there when it comes to good content. We're always striving to just, bottom line, keep it real and be a breath of fresh air in a world where a lot of people have a facade, if you will, on their marketing and social game. So that's our game plan. Keep it real, and I'll let you know how it goes. But right now, that's kind of what we're up to.
Well, I'd imagine there's probably quite a bit of critique, too, about how you're hunting, what you're hunting with, what equipment you should be using, because everybody has an opinion. We kind of live in horse world up here, and I know there's 100 different ways to ride a horse. I only know one, and that's to throw my leg over the saddle. But I would imagine you get a lot of comments about how you should be doing stuff, too.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, there's a lot to learn about hunting. I mean, it's intimidating. It's the barrier to entry is insane. I feel for those that want to be, like, you know, later in life, late adopters to hunting. You got an uphill road, but it is possible.
Kyle's pointing the finger at me going, hey, it's you, because I'm 52 and I just got up here, right? So basically what you're saying is I'm screwed.
Not at all. Not at all. But I think you definitely have to understand that it is a process, just like anything worth having is going to require some energy and effort and some delayed gratification. That's one of our buzzwords. And I know that hunting for me has changed my life completely. It can get me out of bed. It can get me to do all the sucky things I don't want to do, because I know there's light in the tunnel. And now I'm at home for a stretch of 5 days before I go back out bear hunting. These are going to be the most productive 5 days you've ever seen. I'm going to put a fence in for my wife. I'm going to help her with her garden. I'm going to play with my kids. I'm going to get a ton of work done for Elkshape. And I'm excited about all that because I know I'm going to be back out in the mountains for a couple of days. So I leverage hunting to create more personal development, more discipline. And I think elk hunting specifically is a gift because it's so finite. It comes around once a year and that's it. So you have your why to be in great shape. You have your why to do all your homework and scouting and shoot your weapon and do your research. And so I try to preach that, man, hunting is a gift, especially when you leverage it to make everything else better. So you're in a good spot.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. I'm going to change the tone of the conversation a little bit here to be just about hunting, because we appreciate your business perspective and the fact that you're doing something that you are passionate about and now you've turned it into a living. And maybe Kyle's got a couple questions about some of your ways of doing things. But, when we were talking around the table and we started talking about hunting, I'm thinking, gosh, there seems like a lot to learn, as you suggested. Not only how to use the bow, which I think that's where we're going to start, right, Kyle?
Yeah, we're going to try to get you hooked up with a good bow and start shooting straight.
Okay, so, you've got the bow, and then once I learn how to do that, then I'm like, well, I need the right equipment, because we're going to be out in the middle of nowhere. So, you need to learn about equipment, and then camping, packing correctly, the right load, how much, the food that I'm going to eat, the nutrition, my physical fitness, and then if I actually get something, dressing it in the field and knowing how to do that. I mean, the list seems like it just goes on and on. Where, like you said, there's a lot to learn there. So you want to touch on a few of those things and give us some insight? Maybe Kyle's got a couple questions too.
Yeah, I'll take you through kind of like what we do at Elkshape Camp. So obviously, when people sign up for Elkshape Camp, they're like, oh, I'm going to learn how to get in shape for hunting, and that is somewhat true, but mostly we start with the weapon. So you said bow hunting, so that's my love language. I don't rifle hunt. I got nothing against rifles. It's just not my choice, not my style. So when it comes to elk hunting or any big game animal, doesn't matter what shape you're in, doesn't matter all the cool gadget gizmo gear you have, doesn't matter where you're hunting. If you don't have your weapon doped, if you're not really in tune with your equipment as far as how to shoot it at a high heart rate, how to shoot it from different angles, whether it be kneeling, crawling, or shooting a steep downhill or uphill angle, none of that matters. So all our camps, we start with the weapon. We watch all our athletes shoot. We judge how they shoot, their shot process. We make sure that they understand their technique, the mental side of shooting, and we teach them proper mechanics, and we pound that into them. And then we teach them perfect practice. Like, everybody's a killer in their backyard at 20 yards, flat, fast, everyone's a killer. But when you get a high heart rate, you have a backpack on full of gear, boots, and you're, under duress, you're under fatigue, and you have a 10-second window to get your bow pulled back and aim and execute a good shot. That's way different than your backyard. So we start with the weapon at the camp. We spend literally a day just going through all that before we even talk about tactics and elk knowledge and scouting and biology and behavior and vocalizations. Then we move into the fitness and the preparation there and how to best prepare your mind and body for the mountains. And I did say mind because I think the mind is primary, and mental toughness is not something you're born with. It's something that you can get daily reps at through basically disciplined decisions. So that's kind of an overview of getting into hunting. Is start with your weapon, work through your equipment and gear, learn as much as you can. And in this day and age, knowledge is at your fingertips. You have podcasts, you have YouTube videos, you have most people you can reach out via, you reached out to me via Instagram direct message.
Yep.
And look at, here we are now podcasting together. So we're connected, and there's a lot of people out there that know a lot more than me. So we live in a day and age where I think the learning curve is still steep, but there's ways to mitigate it.
Yeah, pretty smart. By the way, talking about getting in shape, I saw on your Instagram page, you did a Spartan race up here in Montana, looked like, and you had mentioned that Spartan racing was a good way to get into shape for elk hunting.
Yeah, that one specifically, I've only done that one, so I can't speak to all Spartan races, but that one in, was it Great Forks or Three Forks? Right out of Flathead?
Big Fork, Montana.
Yeah, that's right in our backyard.
Okay. That place is gorgeous, but yeah, the course is just single track, damn near literally elk trails is the course, and you're running elk trails up and down, gaining, losing elevation, crossing creeks, side hilling, doing a few 13 obstacles, I guess it's like 30 obstacles. It just doesn't seem like there's very many obstacles. you're primarily running. And I was like, man, this feels just like elk hunting minus a backpack. So yeah, Spartan races are awesome. I'm sure some of them have been postponed or canceled, which is unfortunate. But one of my favorite ways to prepare is to do a Spartan